ettirmek.
Oğlum ben bunun ikisinin arasında bir daha daha önce seçim yapmamış mıydım ya? Çok saçma değil mi oğlum? İkisini aynı anda bir daha getiriyorsun karşıma. Ya da bunların hepsi birbirine benziyor birader. Ben anlayamadım. Ben de hatırlıyorum aynısı. Seçmedik mi birader ya biz bunu? Sayın OTV Games abim. Seçmedik mi bunu ya? Allah Allah. Bunu seçtim, ne yapayım? İstemeyerek. Oo. Yanlış seçim yaptım ya bu. Bu. Bu. Allah kahretsin, geri dönebiliyor mu lan? Dur, geri dön, geri dön. Geri al. Dur.
Hello guys, this is Ajay.
No me hables de ese
Wszystko, czego pragną, to trzeba.
Gdyby szkolne przedstawienia wyglądały tak, Airwaves nie byłby potrzebny. Ale bywa inaczej.
A lot of my students struggle to master introduce you post-process volume. If you start a new project and you create a quick change its exposure under wherever you will act, you can increase details panel. Enable the free 3 settings here. Change the metering mode to manual. Leave the exposure compensation as 1 for the moment. Make the apply physical camera exposure false by deactivating here. Now if you go into the area in game mode, for example, you see a slight difference between inside and outside your post-process volume. Let's increase the compensation to really see the difference. Don't forget that you can also see the difference in the editor mode without having to launch the game. Now, if you want to have the manual exposure in the whole map, no need to scale it by hand. Go to its details panel and look for Unbound. Activate it, and now you have full control of your exposure in your exposure and actual difference more with auto exposure.
Czas na przerwę. Czas na KitKat.
How to enable Lumen in Unreal Engine 5.3. Go to settings, project settings. Alright, that's weird. Now I need you to go to rendering under engine here. There it is. And scroll down to global illumination. Set this to lumen. Now I think in Unreal Engine 5.3 this is already set to lumen automatically. And under reflections also put this to lumen. Now the reflection capture resolution, I've set this to high value, but in your case if you don't want a high value then keep it the same. Now also we have lumen here, just keep this the same. This should be detailed tracing, and in the hardware ray tracing there is something called ray trace shadows. Enable this and you're all set. Now you can also add a post process and click on it, search for infinite, and then activate this, and then activate this and set this to lumen. Scroll down. Also there's reflections, lumen, and quality is high. You can see that here we have really good reflections. I also decreased the intensity of the directional light and the really good reflection. Also decreased is high. You can see that here lumen and quality is high. To lumen, scroll down, then activate. Activate this and set this to lumen. Scroll down. Also there's reflections, lumen, and quality is high. You can see that here we have really good.
Hi everyone, today we're going. So blue is the U, or it knows, it's a flag and that it's using it. So I'm going to just hit that on, and then the next one you can actually use lighting. I want to order to
How to enable
Pedigree. dla dobra psów.
To activate Lumen in Unreal Engine 5, trouble global illumination. When Lumen is enabled, you must also enable the Generate Mesh Distance Fields property. You can just type in the search bar Generate Mesh Distance Fields and make sure that is enabled. This is necessary for Lumen's software ray tracing mode to work.
Light Studio by once you enable it, when you start your project, you just type the name of the blueprint and it will appear, and you can drag it and enable it when you. So there is a blueprint Light Studio that is already available inside Unreal Engine starter content. Once you enable it, when you start your project, you just type the name of the blueprint and it will appear, and you can drag it inside your scene, and immediately you can browse to your HDRI images. Let's say, for example, you want to change a different one. So let's go inside the camera, for example, and let's go inside our scene. If you look at this part of our scene, for example, let's set the focus at this point. You can see using this method is actually very nice in terms of creating a nice mood, and also a nice background that matches that light mood, and you can always increase the intensity to create more light bounces inside your scene. So this
Ona kocha koty, więc dzisiaj pożyczę koty sąsiadów.
So, if you're a 3D artist, you will no doubt understand how challenging it can be to master lighting. If you've been doing this for some time, you will have felt the sting of spending hours trying to get this stage of the pipeline perfected. You're not alone. This stage is an unforgiving craft, but it doesn't have to be. Today, I'm going to try and show you everything that's involved within lighting, within the Unreal 5 engine, and if you use Blender or any other 3D package, the language spoken here today will also be applicable to those tools. We will look at basic lighting setups, such as point lamps. We'll then move into dynamic lighting, HDRIs, and lastly, how to blend all these together to get the best results. Number 1. Basic lighting tools. All 3D platforms come equipped with basic lighting tools. You have a point lamp, spotlight, and rectangle light. Each have their own purpose, and although they are very basic in principle, you should never discard them for other systems that promise better results. It's best to learn the foundations before moving into any advanced systems. Point lamps are a type of light source in the Unreal 5 engine that emit light in all directions. They are useful for creating localized sources of light, such as desk lamps or light bulbs. To create a point lamp, in Unreal 5, open the Unreal editor and navigate to the actor component panel. From here you can add point lamp components to your scene by clicking on the add component and selecting point lamp from the list. Once you've added the point lamp component, you can adjust the properties to control the appearance of the light. The most important properties to consider are the intensity and color, with the intensity controls being how bright the light is and the color controls being the tint of the light itself. You can also adjust the size of the lamp by adjusting the source radius property. Another important property to consider is the source length. This controls the size of the light source along the z-axis. A larger value will make the light source appear larger and more diffused, while a smaller value will make the light source appear smaller and more focused. One of the most powerful features of the point lamp in Unreal 5 is the ability to control the fall off of the light itself. Fall off refers to the way in which the light intensity decreases as you move away from the light source. By adjusting the attention radius property, you can control the distance at which the light intensity reaches 0. Number 2, rectangle lights. Rectangle lights and spotlights work in a very similar manner, so I am going to group these two together. Once you have created your rectangle light, you will be able to adjust its properties in the details panel, with some of the most important properties to consider including intensity. This controls the brightness of the light. You can adjust this to make the light brighter or dimmer as needed. Color, this controls the color of the light. You can use a color picker to select a specific color, or you can use the temperature setting to adjust the color based on the temperature of the light. I would suggest using a Kelvin chart. That way you can get very realistic results based on real light properties. The shape controls the size and shape of the light. You can adjust the width, height and depth of the light to fit your scene. Rectangle and spotlights are a diegetic form of light, meaning that they are really good for achieving desired results of illuminating objects within your scene. Something like a car spotlight or a flashlight would be a good example. They can also be used to highlight characters and main subjects, and when setting these in your scene, you want to position the light correctly, so make sure that the light is positioned in a way that makes sense for your scene. If you're trying to simulate a window, for example, you will want to position the light so that it appears to be coming from outside the window. Experiment with different intensities. Try adjusting the intensity of your rectangle light to see how it affects the scene. You may find that a brighter light works better in some situations, while a dimmer light works better in others. Use color to create mood. The color of your rectangle light can be used to create a specific mood in your scene. A warm orange light can be used to create a cozy and inviting atmosphere, while a cool blue light might be used to create a more tense or eerie atmosphere. Number 3, directional lights. A directional light is a type of light that simulates sunlight and is used to illustrate outdoor scenes. It is called a directional light because it emits light in a single direction, as opposed to a point lamp which emits light in all directions. One of the most important properties to adjust is the direction property, which controls the direction in which the light is emitting. I personally like to place this in the center of my frame when working with cameras. That way I can adjust my light on the fly. You can also adjust the intensity properly as with every other light, but it's best to leave it at either base value or by tweaking it ever so slightly. The aim of the directional light is to simulate the sun, which is out of our control. By adjusting the light color, we can use a yellow light to simulate the warm glow of a sunset, or a blue light to simulate the cool glow of moonlight. Number 4, HDRIs. High dynamic range is a technique used to display a wide range of colors and brightness levels in digital images. This can greatly enhance the realism and overall visual appeal of your game or real-time application. You will need to enable HDRIs in your project by going to the project settings, click on plugins, search for HDRI and enable it. You will then have to restart your project. Normally I will adjust the exposure or intensity of my HDRI ever so slightly.
This is success with SEMrush. It's getting new customers online while spending less, and improving your website and your content. It's finding money-making keywords.
The benefit of this tool is that it requires very little adjustments. Unreal 5 does come with some basic HDRIs that you can choose from, but if you need something more specific to your scene, you can import your own HDRIs. A great website to consider is HDRI Haven. Number 5, post-processing. Perhaps the most important tool within Unreal 5 for finalizing gorgeous renders. Post-processing is a technique that is used to improve the visual quality of a game by applying various effects to the final image. In Unreal 5, the post-processing tool can be accessed through the post-processing tab in the main menu. Once a post-processing volume has been added, developers can adjust various settings such as color grading, depth of field, and motion blur. Before you dive in, however, it is best to search for the Onbound tab and enable this. That way your post-processing box will cover your entire scene without you having to scale it. Very handy. The color grading feature allows developers to adjust the overall color and tone of the game. This can be used to create a specific mood or atmosphere, such as a warm and sunny day or a cold and snowy night. Developers can also adjust the brightness and saturation of the game, as well as the contrast and gamma. Number 5, mixing all lighting techniques. Now that we have a basic understanding of all the lighting tools, let's try and create a sunset across this desert environment. I will have an environment tutorial coming soon, however please leave a
Welcome back everyone. In today's video we're diving into an exciting topic using rectangular supportive lights to in the post-process volume replace the rectangular
Hello, today I will show you how to light your projects pretty easily. Now I'm going to hide this level. I'm going to hide everything that has to do with lighting. So here, if you don't use levels already, you should use levels. They are nice to keep your project organized, especially if it's an architectural project. Lighting, I can hide it. Lighting, I can hide it. It looks like there are some lights are working. That's completely fine. Let's talk about the general lighting. Alright, to set up your lighting in Unreal Engine, if you're using Lumen, the basic setup for your lighting, whether it's interior or exterior, is the same. And it's as easy as going to Window, Environment Light Mixer, and then you need to create these elements. So create a skylight, create atmospheric light, create a sky atmosphere, volumetric cloud, and height fog. Now you can duck this somewhere in the window and work with it, or you can hide it. Like I'm gonna close it now and I'm gonna click here on my, like it was here. Then if you click here, it will take you to the tab, press shift, click on the arrow to close everything, release shift, click, and here's the light. This is from an earlier tutorial. I will keep it just because it's funny. So let's create a new folder and call it just for you, GFR. And I will give you a tip. I'm gonna delete these lights and I will delete. And this beautiful folder, I will right click and I will make it current folder. Now it's green, it's nice. Let's go to Window, Environment Light Mixer again, and click fast. And they are all here now. This is so nice. I love this. Thank you, developers. If you want to change it, you can right click or clear current folder, select another folder. Anyway, that's the lighting, by the way. Now, the basic controls, you want to hold Ctrl L to change the direction of your light. So let me just find the sun. It's beautiful. And this is Lumen in action.
Are you kidding me?
Sentry can't fix this.
One very important element you want to add to any new project you are making is also the post-process volume. So I believe I already have post-process volumes enabled. Let me check. No, it's hidden for now. Let me see if there is any post-process volume. None. Great. Click on this add menu and just simply type post and click and drag. You can press F to focus selection, then press G if you don't see it to toggle game mode. I'm holding Alt and left mouse button to orbit, right mouse button to zoom out, and you can have multiple options. You can either scale it to the size of the house if you want, or you can make it global. In this case,
Almost like fasting. Yeah.
It's Ramadan.
From this shit.
Why?
There's no Ramadan.
And then Ramadan.
Of
And then.
You're very silly.
You're like something like Ramazan. I'm so sad.
Are you fasting?
No.
What's wrong?
You're fasting. You said that is no bullshit. So I wasn't sure that. Did you try this one?
Yes, it's good.
It's really nice, right? Well, yes. Already started.
But if somebody is fasting on Mounjaro or Ozempic, which probably is a lot of people in Turkey as well, they have really easy way this year.
No.
It's really easy.
You're right.
If you eat a lot, especially in night, it's not a challenge at all.
Actually, like, like, how can I tell you? It's like Fat Thursday. When Fat Thursday comes, people suddenly wants to eat like 10 ponche. Ramazan is like that for most of you. Actually, you don't have to eat so much.
Yeah, I know. Especially at night.
Yeah, I remember like most of the times I never woke up. You know, I was just like fuck it. Like I don't have to like to feel because you're making stress. You know, before the call to prayer starts.
Yeah.
You have to feel yourself. Like why?
Yeah, and that time your metabolism is very slow, so it's very heavy for you to eat such a food.
Actually, my psycho father was waking up us, and he wasn't even trying to fasting properly. That was another shame. Like if and we were like I don't know like 10 years old, and he was waking up all of us.
But kid doesn't have to fast, right?
No. Till you get the teenager, you don't have to. But for example, Doris fasting.
Why?
Yeah, why? Like why? She was fasting like 2 years ago maybe, when she was trying to or something. And should I pushes her, like I don't know if she push or not, but she goes to mosque at the evening.
I don't know what kind of crisis Shana is going through.
It's so ridiculous, you know, like we live all together.
Yeah.
And how come you still have this potential to be totally different person? Did you see Başak's post?
No, what happened?
Oh, she shared something cute.
putting that to ear. Like what about this one?
Oha. Oha. Oha. There is one TV series in Italy. It's now so popular and everyone is sharing, crying when it finishes. When the end of the season, people are crying and now they are sharing on TikTok. Ah, sweetly. Gördüm seni, gördüm.
Haydi bakalım oyunumuza dönelim. Aa!
Let's make underscore and call it global, and we'll go to the details panel and we will scroll all the way down, or better yet, you can simply just hold shift and close all these menus like so.
Ne yapıyorum? Işıklandırmayla ilgili bir şeylerle uğraşıyorum dostum.
Or you can just scroll all the way. Now, I'm scaring you. Don't scroll all the way. Maybe just do it once. Let's look for post-processing.
Öyle bir şey, ders çalışıyorum gibi bir şey işte. Işıklandırmaya bakıyorum. Hop, hop oradayım. Hop buradayım. Şuraları nasıl aydınlatabilirim? Nasıl bir stabil ışık yapabilirim? Ona bakıyorum.
Says volume settings, and here under infinite extent and bound, you want to right click, add it to your favorites. If it does not exist already, then enable this button, then enable this. And in this button, I have multiple options. Let's close them for now. Right.
Sesi açacağım da nasıl açacağım bilmiyorum ya. Şuradan mı acaba? Olmadı. Bu da olmadı.
From standard to convolution, or let's hide these. I like to close the menus because it's just easier to read things instead of endless scrolling. It will remember your settings. Let's find the lens, let's find the exposure, and let's find the auto exposure. This is usually a setting you may want to set if you want to keep consistent exposure. Now let's do this. I'm going to find a dark area. As you can see, just like in real world, if you go from dark place to bright place, it will hurt your eyes. If for any reason your area, as you can see, find the lens, Let's hide them for now. Right now nothing happened because there are no options we change. But what we can change is the bloom, for example. So I can change, let's find the sun, change it from standard to convolution, or
Standartı convolution'a değiştirelim bakalım. Standartı convolution, standartı convolution. Şunu bir silelim. Şunu da silelim. Post process volume. Dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun. Ananı. Hadi ya. No. Ctrl Z. No. Ne yapıyoruz burada?
let's find the sun, change it from standard to
Bloom. Şatan. Meow. Inbound nerede lan?
convolution, or let's hide these. I like to close the menus because it's just easier to read things instead of endless scrolling. It will remember your settings. Let's find the lens, let's find the exposure, and let's find the auto exposure. This is usually a setting you may want to set if you want to keep consistent exposure. Now let's do this. I'm going to find a dark area. As you can see, just like in real world, if you go from dark place to bright place, it will hurt your eyes. If for any reason you don't want that, and that's especially important when you have interiors, sometimes it can get really bright or really dark and it will be inconsistent for your experience. But I'm not saying it's not a good option to have, but maybe you want it under more control. And that's usually what we do. So we have levels and we have a special map for the post-process volume, and in this map we have like one post-process volume for each room or each main area. Let's go back to our little nice post-process volume, the global one. Click F on it to find it because I like to look at the cube while I'm working with the post-process volume. Hold Alt and Orbit to find a beautiful view. Alright, now I'm going to enable these. I will switch from auto exposure histogram to manual, and now it's kind of very dark, so we can start increasing this value. This is like an artistic choice if you want. Physically based values can be decided.
Tamam dostum. Afiyet olsun.
discuss in another tutorial. So usually for options I go with like 12, 11, depends. Sometimes if I want to be close where there is an area, well, where is an area shadowy like this, maybe 12 is nice, or 12.5, yeah.
AccuPose is a groundbreaking AI-assisted posing technology that...
One is too dark. For the interiors, I kind of need to adjust the lighting, but usually from the interiors it should be bright from outside. But since we have here really large windows, we don't have a problem with most interiors. Compared to this interior with the same values, here if we like increase it to 14, it's not bad, 13, but then this is an artistic choice. So what you may want next is to have multiple post-process volumes, one for the interior and one for the exterior. For any reason, let's do that, and let's make this slightly larger so it covers an area from the house. This is okay. And let's call it, for example, interior. You want to disable making global infinite and bound. Now, this should be effective when we are inside it as a post-process volume. So let's change some settings inside it so we can see the difference. And let's change, for example, the saturation. Let's reduce the saturation. Now, if we go inside, this is amazing. If you go outside, this happens. But this may not work. You may sometimes have multiple post-process volumes, or you may want control. Like, how does Unreal Engine knows, right? You will need to tell the engine what is the priority of each post-process volume. So when we click on this, for example, now let's scroll where we have the post-process volume settings and we have the priority. I can add this even to my favorites, and I'm gonna add this to 0.5. Okay, and now I can have another post-process volume. Let's make a duplicate. So hold Alt and click and drag to have a duplicate, make it big. So now if you go inside, there is this, and if we go inside, let's change this to some different settings. Yeah, let's say the extra. We're kind of getting lucky here where this is happening, but usually we don't. So what you need to do is to always set the priority. So if this is, for example, 0.4, it will not show anything inside 0.4, sorry, above 0.4. In this case, this guy is 0.5 in terms of the priority. It's always with less saturation. So if we select our interior, the one with the 0.5, and set it to 0.3, for example, we're gonna see now it's overly saturated where we want it, which is inside this volume. To keep this lesson short, I will wrap up around here, but some final notes. You can increase lumen settings from the post-process volume as well. So under global illumination, the method, you have lumen, and you have some other methods like the screen space. These are duplicated, I would say, so don't switch lumen unless you want baked lighting, so switch it to none, and then bake your lighting, but that's another thing. Go to the GI here, lumen global illumination. You have the screen quality, the final gallery quality, and so on. So you can mess around with these. So if there is anything you didn't understand, or please let me know in the comments. If there is something you want to learn, also let me know in the comments. One of the final notes you want to take with you: if you have a project, you have the global post-process volume, and then you have interior post-process volume. The main difference between them, it will be the exposure, and then you can take it from there. I hope you found this lesson useful. Subscribe if you're not already. If you enjoyed this one, share it with your friends.
Na Dzień Kobiet świat rozkwita dla wszystkich. Lego Botanica. Zbuduj miłość na zawsze.
Lindor. Podaruj chwilę przyjemności.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. In today's video, we're going to be going over an issue which a lot of people seem to be having currently, and that is an issue with lighting inside of Unreal Engine 5. So as you know, Epic Games have changed the lighting engine. So you build your lighting, the scene that it will go to a creepy looking scene here, where I've just basically put a roof over the starter place and put some lights in here. Now if I were to go to build lighting only, after I build the lighting, you'll notice this is probably going to get very dark again. So as you can see here now, the level is incredibly dark. It's as if we don't have any lighting. Hey guys, and welcome back to another... However, there is a better way of doing that, which is A, quicker, and B, more efficient. So the way we're going to do that is through a plugin. So we're going to go to Edit, Plugins, and then we're going to search for GPU, and we want to enable GPU Lightmass. Now this is in a beta version, so keep that in mind. However, I've not really found many issues with it. I have found some issues which I will go over. However, obviously, you can decide whether or not you want to use this. So we'll press yes, and then we'll just restart the engine, and I'll be back to you once we have done that. So we're now... Now back, the engine has restarted, so we can close the plugins menu, go back into our level, and then you can see now if we go up to the top and press build, we now have GPU Lightmass. So if we click on that, that's going to open a new tab which I've already docked to the bottom right down here. For you, it will probably appear here, and then you can just drag and dock this wherever you like. So I'm going to have mine here. Now there are many settings here that you can change. However, the default will probably be perfectly fine for you as they're very, very good settings. I will leave a link in the description down below to the full documentation for the GPU Lightmass plugin if you do want to go into more detail on all of these. However, I will go into some of the basics now. So, one tip you're going to want to do is in the top right here, you can see viewport real time is on. What we want to do is untick that. So this means that anything that will be moving in your viewport in real time now will not be, and that will make it build a lot quicker. So you can toggle this on and off while building as well, however having it off just is so much quicker. Show progress bars will show a progress bar on the asset or the texture itself, which we'll see when we're building later on, so you can see how far through it is. And then mode here, we've got full bake and bake what you see. Those are pretty self-explanatory. Full bake will bake everything in a scene, and bake what you see will only bake what the camera is seeing, so what is currently in the viewport. Compress light maps, if you hover over it, you can see it will then just compress the light map textures. This is ticked by default, and I would leave this ticked. If you untick it, then as you can see there, it will increase the memory and disk size by about 4 times. However, because they're not compressed, they will be of a slightly higher quality, but I don't think there's that much difference in quality to warrant actually that much more disk space being used.
Create content for people and search engines with SEMrush SEO Writing Assistant. Get your copy SEO ready.
The same with the denoising, you can have that be either...
Ne? She's just sleeping.
Not at all on completion or during interactive preview. On completion is again just a lot quicker and nicer, and you can choose which denoiser you want to use. You've also got global illumination if that is something which you are using as well. And the same goes for volumetric light maps, irradiance caching, and all this other stuff. Again, you don't really need to change any of it. It's perfect as it is by default, but those options are there if you want. Now, in the top left, we have our build lighting button. However, you can see for me, it is grayed out. And underneath it, it says GPU Lightmass requires support hardware ray tracing enabled in your project settings. So what I need to do is just go to Edit, Project Settings, and then I can simply just search for hardware, and then I want to tick support hardware ray tracing where it is. So if I put hardware ray tracing instead, I can tick that, and I might need to restart again. As I do so again, I will be back in a second. And you can also change all these other settings for your lighting and rendering as well. For example, ray trace shadows and skylight. However, just for the moment, I'm just using the basics of the GPU Lightmask plugin. I'm not going into details of how to make your game look the best with the lighting. That is a completely different video, more in depth. This is just how to build the lighting. So again, I'll restart and be back with you in a second. So we are back once again, so I'll close this. And now you can see in the top left, we have the build lighting button enabled. It is green. So I can just go right ahead and click that. Before I do that though, however, for the lighting itself, you're going to want to make sure that the lights are set to either static or stationary, because those are ones that you bake. Movable, so fully dynamic, means there is no baking at all. Static is fully baked, so that's the fastest rendering. That's what I've got all of these set to. And stationary is only partially baked, so the rendering is still faster than movable, but not as fast as static. So again, I have set all of mine to static. Now, if you have them as stationary, that means you can't have more than 4 overlapping in one area. So if we were to do that, for example, let me show you what happens. So I set this to stationary, and I get 4 overlapping each other. You'll see that that's fine. But as soon as I get a 5th one, one of them will say, we'll give this X, which means it's basically not working. So you need to set one of them to static, or just not have that many in an area, which is obviously what I'm doing because I don't need all of those there. So if we now go back to the GPU Lightmask tab, we can press Build Lighting, and then you may get this message the first time doing it saying some meshes in your scene are not using the latest Lightmap UV generation algorithm. Would you like to upgrade them? And I'm just going to press yes. You will only get that for the first one, and then if you get this message log here, you see what it did, and then all you need to do is press Build Lighting again, and now it's going to be building the lighting. It will go completely dark as it removes all lighting data, and then it will start building the lighting. So we should see some progress bars appear very soon, but you can see it's going up really, really quickly. If I were to tick this off, then you can see it says slow mode, and it's a lot slower. But so what I'm going to do is just untick that to go back onto fast mode. Now there's no progress bars that I can see here. That's probably just because of how basic and simple the scene is. It doesn't really need any. However, we can now see the lighting has finished building. I'm encoding the textures, and none of this was sped up, by the way. This was all real time. I've not cut anything out. This is how quick this is. It's a very simple scene, and in fact, there's actually no lighting in here. So if I go to the details, I might just need to increase how bright these are. And so you'll see that actually the first time of us doing this, it has gone completely black, and there's now no lighting in here whatsoever. If I were to click on one of these and change it and then change it back, you see the lighting does come back. So that means there is an issue with how we have done this. Something has gone wrong somewhere. That's fine. So I believe the issue with this is probably because I've just created a new project straight off the bat. Lumen is enabled by default, so I think I need to disable Lumen. So if I go to Edit, Project Settings, I can then go down to the Rendering tab, and make sure that I disable Lumen so that we are using just baked lighting. So I go to rendering here. What I can do is make sure that I scroll down and under dynamic global illumination method, set that to none, for example, and reflection, set that to screen space. And now we should not be using Lumen anywhere. Project settings, I can then go down to the rendering tab and make sure that I disable Lumen so that we are using just baked lighting. So I go to rendering here. What I can do is make sure that I scroll down and under dynamic global illumination method, set that to none, for example, and reflection, set that to screen space. And now we should not be using Lumen anywhere. So you can see that now
Tamam kuzucuğum. I hope so, kuzum. If everything goes very well, we can continue where we left, so no problem. Of şeytan. Tatlı dilin, güler yüzün. Biraz da yüreği hoplatıyor. Ağzında sakızı şişirip şişirip herkes kendinden kaçıyor. Dın dırın dırın dırın. Oh, let's check. Okay. All right. Lumen. Go. Meow. Chat on. Şeytan. Şeytan. Şeytan.
you.